So I am a music school dropout. You chose the wrong school. If you want to graduate from here, you should have started here 4 years ago. Welcome everyone, my name is Garrett, this is GSmusicICT, and I want to tell you a story about what happened when and after I dropped out of music school. Music was something that got my attention at a very young age. AC/DC was the band that made me beg my parents to get a guitar. I tried playing guitar at 9 years old with one of those like Behringer starter pack guitars, and I gave up very quickly. It was way too hard for a 9-year-old, or at least for me. So my brother and his girlfriend, when I was 11, walked into the house and I was running around the room doing the duck walk like Angus Young. They laughed and I was so embarrassed, which from their perspective, it was hilarious. It embarrassed me so bad that I decided, you know what? I'm gonna learn the song that was playing and I'm gonna show him that I can play guitar. I learned the chords to Highway to Hell by AC/DC. It was from guitar tabs. I never had lessons until later on. Tabs was the first way that I learned how to play guitar. I can't really read music anymore. I used to be able to back in middle school when I was playing in the concert band. But I stopped band in high school mainly because it drove me crazy to play one song for 4 or 5 months, 5 days a week, to get a grade at contest and then move on to a second song. We've been doing 2, maybe 3 songs a year. I understand repetition, I understand practice, but that just sounds like torture. When I got out of high school, I decided I was gonna go to a community college, and pretty quickly I realized I made a mistake with the school choice. And I went there for 2 reasons. 1, I got a full ride scholarship for choir and band. 2, 3 of my high school buddies were going there. After 3 days at this school, I realized I should have gone to my second choice school, and it was too late. Second choice school would not let me transfer right out of the gate. I actually had to finish 2 semesters at my first school to go to my second choice college. Now, I should point out, there is nothing wrong with community college. I actually am a huge advocate for students to go to community college because of the lesser cost, because you can really screw up your young adult life right out of the gate by getting into way too much student loan debt. I remember my high school vocal teacher was trying to convince me to go to a university up in Kansas City, and I said I don't want to have a crazy amount of student loan debt. And he said, it is perfectly normal to have $160,000 to $200,000 in student loan debt when you graduate from college after 4 years. Why would I want to start out my young adult life that way? Now, I can understand it if you're going to be like going in for like anesthesiology, a doctor. I just couldn't wrap my head around being $160,000 in debt at 22. Now, the school I went to, it was good for general education, but when it came to the music program, no. The choir professor actually handed me a lyric sheet printed off of songlyrics.com. No sheet music, just a lyric sheet to All the Small Things by Blink-182. And we just sang along to the studio track with the band. The full studio track has Tom DeLonge in the background and everything. That's when I knew I made a mistake. Now, I transferred to my second choice school my sophomore year of college. Did get a somewhat of a scholarship for band. Now, this guy remembered me from middle school for some reason, playing trumpet. And it's not like I was a good trumpet player, because I wasn't. But he gave me a scholarship and said, play trumpet in the band. I said, cool. Turns out that I had like 4 trumpet classes. So I brought it up to him and said, hey man, where's the guitar classes? And he said, oh yeah, that's here, I'll fix it. All he did was add guitar classes on. So he added 4 guitar classes on top of 4 trumpet classes, on top of band and the general studies. I had classes that were on top of each other. It was physically impossible to follow this schedule. So I brought it up to him, and he kind of just shrugged his shoulders and said, look, kid, do you want the money or not? So the next day I went to the student advisor's office and tried to tell them the situation. The student advisor told me, when you're on scholarship with us, we own your ass. You do what we say when we say. That's how this works. Now, I'd like to tell you that I had a witty comeback to that, but I was crushed. I didn't know what to do. I called my mom, and she convinced me to stay for at least the semester, because I was ready to drop out there then and there. I was done. I went back the next day and looked at the requirements to get certain degrees and all this stuff, and figured out a class schedule that would work for me. And I went back and told them, I don't want your money. I don't want the scholarship. I want to be able to make my own choices. Now, while I do believe that was the right choice for me, and it felt great to say that, the way the college heard it was, hey, I would like to pay more money to be here and do what I want to do, which of course they're like, oh yeah, come right on in, let's sign some papers. You know what I mean? That's why I had $14,000 of student loan debt when I got out of my secondary school in my sophomore year. I did finish with an associate's degree, but I did not continue on. The community college had a program that they would boast about that said all credits from our school transfer to Wichita State, and so did the first school. Well, when I got there, after I finished my general education and had music classes under my belt, I talked to the student advisor at Wichita State. She looked at it and said, all of your general education classes have transferred, but none of your music credits will transfer, so congratulations, you have 4 more years to get your degree. I couldn't fathom going to school for another 4 years. And so I was trying to explain the situation that no, my credits transfer, that's the deal. And she said, you chose the wrong school. If you want to graduate from here, you should have started here 4 years ago. I was done. I mean, I was just totally done. And it's what made me drop out of music school beginning my junior year of college. So I remember going back home and saying, I'm gonna figure this out later. And I just put it off. I didn't want to do anything with college. I absolutely couldn't stand it. And I was just done. Now, if there was a specific music school in my city, I probably would have looked into that, but at least at that time, I would have taken a gap year, and most people that take a gap year, myself included, we just don't go back. You know, we get into a different groove, a different rhythm on what we're doing with our life, whether it's a job or maybe you end up moving and trying to experience something new. But so for the time after, when I decided I was done with school, I just stayed with my rock band, Left Without Notice. And we gained a lot of ground in the 6 years that we played locally. I mean, we even got on a bill one time with Blackstone Cherry. Now, we didn't get to play that because they all got sick like 5 days before the show. And yeah, it was a bummer. But at least with the rock band, while as much as I love it and I love the guys in it, we didn't have the slightest clue how to turn it to a full-time job for all 3 of us. And that's when I started to look into solo gigging. Solo gigging under GSmusicICT is something I've done since May of 2022. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It scratches that itch. And it was just something so fresh and so new. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And solo gigging has taught me a lot of people skills, how to market myself. Basically, how to get the gig is the biggest thing I've learned from solo gigging. You know, I'm very fortunate to have a booker, and this summer I'm going to be working with 2 more bookers in town, and it's going to fill up my schedule enough so that my day job that I had through this whole story is now becoming my part-time gig. My whole goal is to be able to do music full-time. So that's my story with being a music school dropout. Comment down below what your experience has been if you went to music school, or just your experience from being in the music industry. I'd love to gain a different perspective. And this is GSmusicICT. I put up a new single every 4 weeks on Spotify. Going to be doing that for the rest of the year. A new live cover performed here in my studio every 3 days on YouTube. And as AC/DC said, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.